Can you say
the
that
way I
again
should
when
have.
I'm not saying Mike?
No.
Mike,
Did I start when I'm talking over you?
I think that you started when I was doing something weird.
I can't explain my gnarly sinus infection by doing sweet custom wood projects again. I've already explained it
A
once.
very important phone call.
All right, we don't have time for this.
Hello?
What's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's the deal?
Yo, what's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's the deal?
Hey, what's the deal?
What's good, everybody? I'm Steve Discourse.
What up, y'all? It's your girl, Jay Callie.
Back with another episode of What's the Deal? We got a number of issues we're going to crisscross the board with. We're going to do a quick coverage of this Mueller report reaction.
Also talking about Cardi B doing what?
Jussie Smollet seems to be out of the fire, but it's still a circus, really.
Florida, again, tripping with a crazy abortion bill. We'll get into the details a little later.
It doesn't even make any sense, to be honest with you. And Trump has taken aim at health care. He thinks he's going to slay the beast, the monster that is Affordable Care Act, and replace it with something. So we're going to start with Cardi B because that's really the hot topic this week. But honestly, we just got to touch on this Mueller report real quick. And it's just to say, honestly, I was right from last week. We recorded almost right when it dropped, which is unfortunate because you probably even heard about it before you heard the podcast. But essentially, I said that there's probably going to be no major bombs that we know of yet. It was a little under 400 pages. It's not quite as long as some other special investigation reports have been, but the length of it it's not really relevant. What we know now is there was a 4-page summary released from the Attorney General. A lot of people are speculating. There are opinion pieces all over the spectrum. There's probably a different opinion for every single page in the report.
Literally, yes.
So don't pay much attention to these because nobody knows anything. So anybody saying anything too sure is pure speculation right now. What we do know is by mid-April, they're going to have a redacted to some extent copy of this report made available to Congress. And at that point, we're going to see what's in it. We're going to know a better idea of what's in it. And there's a lot of people who will be super alarmed and raising red flags and warning signs about the idea of redaction. But I'm going to tell you right now, on left and right, redactions happen all the time. So there's no conspiracy. There's no boogeyman about this. If you hear things are redacted, more so or less so, politicians on the left and right are going to heavily redact stuff all the time. We record out of DC and it's a heavily Democratic city, by far. And I'm going to tell you right now, when we make public requests for things to be released to the public, there's crazy redactions all the time. So at whatever level of government we're talking about, whatever party is in power, redactions happen. So I wouldn't read too much into that. And I wouldn't take any of these opinions too heavily and too seriously. Again, like I said last week, we just got to be patient, let this thing come out and do what it does. And it's going to kind of be a slow roll on that. So with that said, Cardi B has exploded internet headlines this week. Jay Callie, break it down for us.
So if you haven't already heard, your girl Cardi B is under fire, which, she always is.
Fire!
But she's literally under fire. Like, people are mad at her. Some people are even threatening to cancel her. Dum, dum, dum.
Cancel Cardi. That has a nice ring to it.
No. You know what? You know what has a better ring to it? Surviving Cardi B.
Oh.
Because that's the hashtag. Cardi B is so problematic. It's a hashtag. Sorry, I had to do it. Y'all, she's been out here robbing people. You hear the silence? Nobody's shocked that Cardi B has been robbing people. She was a stripper and a sex worker. But the thing that she's under fire for is she was also drugging people, knocking them out cold, stealing all of their money.
So what does she exactly say? Break this down to us. Because there was a video that came out from how many years ago?
There were 2 videos.
And she said something like very specific that people are keying into. So what happened?
Well, the first thing that in the first video, basically she was just like, you know what? People keep saying that I didn't deserve my platform. Sorry, I got my fake Cardi B accent. I'm going to try to do it not without doing her fake accent. She was like, people keep saying that I didn't deserve the fame, that I don't deserve the money, that I didn't work for it, blah, blah, blah. And y'all don't know what I had to do to survive. And that's when she starts going on her rant. And I had to like lure niggas in and be like, ooh, yeah, you want to have sex with me? You want to sleep with me? Yeah, come over here in this room. And then when I got them in the room, I had to drug niggas up and rob them. And she was basically just saying that's the type of shit I had to do to even just get by. I had to put myself in these type of risky situations. Like, I had to scratch and survive. I wasn't out here just like skyrocketing to the top without putting in the work. I had to do some wild shit.
Okay.
Y'all don't know my story. That was her point.
And that was scandalous.
And that was 3 years ago. But you know, Cardi B just blew up.
Wait, that was only...
It was 3 years ago
that she admitted to having done that.
It was 3 years
in the
ago
past.
that
So she wasn't necessarily
made the
doing
video.
it 3 years ago.
She was probably doing it
in the past. She had done okay.
Exactly. Who knows how long ago it was that she was doing it? She was a stripper for a long time. She had to do a lot of things, you know, to get it together and to make it work. But so yeah, that's what she said. And then the video resurfaced because somebody posted it like, "Hey, look at your fave. Look at the type of stuff." And people have basically been comparing it to R. Kelly and to Bill Cosby. Basically saying, what's the difference between Cardi B drugging somebody and taking advantage of them? Bill Cosby's sitting in jail for drugging people and taking advantage of them right now. And R. Kelly, y'all niggas won't let him live. So it's like, and some people have even gone as far as to be like, well, that's rape because she used sex to lure them in, which is a reach, if you ask me. It is not rape because she didn't say that she had sex with them. Robbing somebody and raping them isn't the same. Just because drugs were involved doesn't mean it's automatically sex is involved. Being sexy and saying, hey, come to this room is not rape unless while they were drugged up, she also forcibly had sex with them, which wasn't part of the story at all. Well,
she might have, though, but that's what she said. She drugged them in this sexual encounter, right? So it might not be rape because maybe the men came in on the understanding that there was going to be sex. But at the same time, if they didn't know they were going to be drugged, then that is a problem, and I could see how that could qualify as rape. Second of all, she said also that she was going to bring in a third party, a
I
transsexual
haven't talked about that
woman,
story
right?
yet. I haven't gotten there yet.
That was all in the same breath that you just...
No, it was 2 separate videos. In the second video, Steve Discourse, she also said, you know what? If a nigga cheats on me, he's going to be mad. He's going to be in for it because what I'm going to do is I'm going to drug him up. Again, something wrong with her. And I'm going to let him have a threesome with another girl. And then when he wakes up, he's going to be like, oh, damn, that's a tranny.
Right.
And it's just like, oh, my God. Why would you do something? My opinion on that part is kind of just like, Cardi B, you fucked up. Like, I would have been able to kind of be like, you know, she drugged niggas, she robbed them, she was a sex worker. That's not what all sex workers do, but it's also not shocking that it happens for people who are poor, like Cardi B was, people who are like, how can I survive? Okay, well, if these people want to hook up with me, they're going to have to pay the price, no matter by any means necessary. It's just not shocking that it happens. We all know that it happens. However, the tranny comment took it too far, and for real, like, yo, you can't be using transgender people as weapons to get back at people. That's why, that's part of the stereotype and the cliche is that trans people are pretending to be something that they're not just to like kind of get back at people or make people think that they're gay. Like, that's not true. So for you to vilify being trans in that way is just extremely problematic.
Right, so that's a problem in and of itself. For sure, the weaponizing and the dehumanizing of this community, right? So that's definitely a problem. But then also that's where I think it can get into the sphere of sexual assault if because whether you're signing up for it or not, right? If a guy signed up to have sex with another guy and then you brought in a woman, a lot of people are gonna say, hold on, that's a natural way of things. That's not. But if you get something that you didn't sign in for, and you were drugged at the same time, then I think that all falls into that area of assault, right? Whether it's rape or you know, whatever. I'm not trying to pull punches, but whatever you want to call it. A lot of this too is when I'm seeing these debates online and even to some extent in person when I'm around. I also, there's so many people jockeying in position of like semantics in a way that a lot of the debates revolve around exactly the type of language and like we're really micro-analyzing everything to death in a way. And this is a complicated issue. And on one hand, yes, a double standard of the way that she's been being compared to Bill Cosby and to R. Kelly. But at the same time, some of those people making those comparisons aren't seeing the other people who are holding her accountable in the same way. Right. So there's not one reaction to Cardi B. Some people are out here saying, you're totally letting her off the hook. Meanwhile, there's legions of people out here saying this is a major problem. So that's one thing. And second of all, as far as the double standard, it is existing, but at the same time, the power dynamics between men and women are different, that all things aren't equal. And not to say that it justifies and absolves Cardi B of wrongdoing, but in the kind of emotional or knee-jerk response to hearing these things, the power dynamics are inherently usually flipped in a way that we do kind of hear this story in a different way than we do hear it for R. Kelly or for a Bill Cosby doing it. Because men traditionally in a lot of aspects of our society have power over women that they can then exert, whether it's an employment discrimination and things like this, whether they can exert now sexual power over you with these other leverages or things like that. And whereas women, when they're in these situations, normally is coming from a place of trying to exploit and flip those power dynamics.
Right.
And again, that doesn't like forgive Cardi and accept what she did, but I think it's worth having those conversations, just acknowledging the difference in the power dynamic. Yes, that's exactly
my thinking on it, because I was like, it's different when you're already, like you said, have power over someone and then you do something to give yourself even more of an advantage over them, especially because in the cases with men drugging women, it's highly revolved around actually taking advantage of them sexually. That's the purpose. That is not a need. It's different when someone is like, I don't have no food on the table. I don't know how I got to take care of my mom. I got to take care of my siblings. I got to get some money. No matter what, I know I got to do some real grimy shit. And to be aware that what you're doing is grimy, but you feel like you have to do it to survive, versus I really want to have sex with this girl. I'm about to drug her up and take advantage of her. Like, the morality is totally different. It's a totally different morality.
Yeah. And
one is a need, operating out of a place where you feel like you need, and the other is operating out of a place where you feel like you want.
Yeah.
And that you don't care who gets hurt in the process, versus being like, this is fucked up, but you know I got to do what I got to do.
True. Yeah. And I mean, it also speaks to the fact of how kind of perilous and unstable sex workers are in their lives and in the society, right? Because obviously there's a market for this kind of stuff. I mean, there are customers. People want it. We have a morality in this country that views it as problematic, right? But there are other countries where it's legal. And not to say that even where it's legal, there's not human trafficking and bad stuff going on. But I don't think the idea necessarily of paying for sex is inherently bad.
It's not.
And if it could be regulated, I mean, and we could get rid of the human trafficking and exploitation of it, I think a lot of people would be in a better state, and advocates for legalizing sex work have points like, well, if it's on the books, now you can get health care. Now you can make sure that people are clean and they don't have diseases. Similar to the way the pornography industry is, right? Mm-hmm. The way they can get away a lot of times without using condoms and things like that is because if you're under contract and everything, we know like you're getting tested, you're clean, everything, and it's safe. But for prostitution, that doesn't exist because we criminalize it. The same thing with that bust down in Florida where Robert Kraft and all them, the Patriots owner got busted. While they're busting these operations and sending the people who are in charge to jail, they're also still criminalizing and exposing to danger and uncertainty the women in these situations too. And they're not getting away scot-free as stuck. They're also still paying a price. And we got to kind of acknowledge both realities. The
thing is, there's literally so much more work that people have to do to truly understand what sex work even is, because it doesn't end at prostitution. Like, it's so much more behind the title and behind the label of sex work that a lot of it is quite clean, honest work. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it is. So, I mean, yeah, like you said, in general, we just got to educate ourselves and understand more what's going on. But, again, not to excuse Cardi's behavior at all. It's definitely problematic. But I think that she knows that. You get what I'm saying? Like, she didn't brag about it. She wasn't out here like, yeah, woo, woo, robbing niggas, boom, boom, boom. She was like, yo, I had to do some crazy stuff to survive. Like, she acknowledges that it's crazy. She acknowledges that it wasn't the right thing to do. But it's just like, that's just what I thought that I had to do in order to freaking make it. And, you know, we can be mad, we can educate her, but to cancel her,
yeah.
I mean, I'm over cancel culture in general.
And I think that's an important grain of salt to add to this, is intentionality is important. The reason behind it is important. Again, not to say, okay, she's a saint, it's fine, but you just got to understand, right? And a lot of the crimes that happen in America are needs based, right?
Yes.
Economics based. Like, you're doing things. If you're poor, if you got a pretty middle class lifestyle, you're usually not out here shoplifting and robbing people for $50 or $100 or $200, right? Generally speaking, right? So these are the nature and the responsive needs out there. So, I mean, you just said you're really kind of over the cancel culture. So do we resolve it right now? Is she muted? Is she canceled? Or are we gonna?
For me personally, I'm bumping Invasion of Privacy on my way home today. I'm sorry. I mean, look, I'm not mad. It's a learning curve for everybody. I want her to be better, but I'm not going to cancel your girl. She gets me through a lot of stuff. Sorry, I'm going to contain the
This is staying on the recording.
Oh, no.
It is, yeah.
All right, come on.
Whatever.
Move on. Next story.
Yeah.
What we got?
Okay, well.
Florida, talk about it.
Yeah, so let's flip over here, kind of staying on this theme of women's rights and reproductive rights. Florida is constantly trying to be the pace leader in crazy lawmaking. Like, they are always trying to be the standard bearer. They want to carry the torch. They want to be ahead of the curve. What wild, ignorant, illogical stuff can we come up with next? Well, they're contemplating passing a bill around abortion, and mainly what this does is, to quote Newsweek, it's moving from a statute of notification to notification and consent, which is to say, if a minor wants to get an abortion, healthcare providers need to contact the parents, but not just notify the parents. They need to get written consent from the parents.
Okay.
Seems
not crazy
reasonable.
Yet. Yeah.
It's okay to disagree with it. I get it, but that seems reasonable, right? It's not the end of the world. I think it's not making other stipulations on as soon as there's a first heartbeat or day one of fertilization or something, right? Those get really controversial. Let the parents know, okay, this is a minor, right? Seems reasonable. Here's where it gets real sticky. Or not even sticky. It gets so slippery, it slides completely off the freaking rails here. Okay?
Oh, my God.
It just goes insane level. So here's the thing. If a minor does not want to notify and get consent from the parents, they can go before a judge. Here's what happens. The judge has to decide whether they view this girl, because they're minors, so this girl, not an adult woman, the judge gets to decide, is this girl mature enough to make the decision to get an abortion? And if she isn't, send her packing.
Let her have a baby.
So let me just say, you beat me to it. Yeah, so you are not mature enough to understand the implications of this one-time abortion, but we're pretty damn confident you're going to be a great mother. Good luck, kid. Get out of my courtroom. Like,
ew.
Where does the logic stand that if you're not mature enough to make a decision about having an abortion, you are at the same exact breath, at the immediate moment that we decide that one, you are also now fully mature enough to raise a human being for the next 18 plus years?
You don't raise a human being for 18 plus years. You raise them until the day you die.
That's the plus, but okay, fine. So I can't understand. This is what gets me about the abortion situation, the debate in this country, is that I feel like it's just such an emotional thing that rationality goes out the window and bills like this happen. Jay Callie, what are you thinking right now?
Okay, well, first of all, I'm just thinking about the ridiculousness of the entire ordeal because it seems unorganized, even prior to getting to the point where it's like, are you mature enough to advocate for this abortion? Because if you're immature, you're going to be a mom. Congratulations. Like, that's absurd. If your parents need to know that you have a medical issue, I feel like that's a reason why you should contact them. But if it's a medical issue, we won't contact your parents. Or if you're already married, we're not going to contact your parents. Or if you already have a child, well, no need to notify your parents that you're pregnant again. Obviously, they expect this type of behavior from you. Like, these small stipulations are like, who comes up with this stuff? If this person is underage, then I feel like I don't want to talk about whether or not you should or shouldn't contact the parent, because there are a lot of minor things, but those ones probably shouldn't be them. Like, also, when this person goes into the courtroom, you have the judge sitting there and he's asking himself the list of questions of
or herself,
themselves.
Yeah.
Is this person credible? Is this person responsible enough? Is this person emotionally stable? Does this person have the ability to assess exactly what's going on? What I'm trying to figure out is, how does the judge know this?
So think about that, right? And I'm going off of largely Newsweek had a big story write up about this story. So yeah, think about that phrase that you said, emotionally stable. You're a judge and you're saying, well, this girl is clearly not emotionally stable. Rather than let her have an abortion, I better make her give birth to this child who she's now responsible for. Can you think about that? She's not emotionally stable, therefore she must carry this child.
But you know what?
That's not to say she can't go back now and get consent from her parents.
I was about to say, that's exactly what I was about to say.
So he has to put it back in, the judge, he or she is putting it back now
on the parents to say yes or no.
Or for the child to not go to the parents. I don't know. But just think about that list that you rang off, like emotional stability, credible. We're reading this bullet list, credibility and demeanor as a witness. Like, what does that even mean?
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't think you're a credible person to be testifying on your own behalf and your lifestyle and your experiences. I mean, ability to assess immediate and long-range consequences of the minor's choices. Well, the immediate consequence will be, I don't know, maybe there'll be some emotional fallout or something. It can be maybe a difficult decision.
Yeah.
Long range, I won't have a child, or I will have a child for the rest of my life. Like,
I just don't know if people are thinking about the fact that when we're talking about abortions, we're not talking about a medical procedure. We're talking about, will you or will you not be a parent to a human being for the rest of your life? It's beyond just the moment of the abortion itself. You're either going to now go and live a childless life, or you're going to literally have a baby, a child.
Well, but that's where it gets difficult, because then the people who are saying we're not talking about just the medical procedure now get into the morality of it, and is it okay, and should you be doing it, and do we want to allow these minors to do it? Do we literally want to tell a judge that they should find them emotionally unstable, therefore justifying their fact that they should be a parent? I can't understand it, and we need to really, by all means necessary, leave these as personal choices.
Is there any other medical procedure where you don't notify a minor's parent before you perform it?
Oh, I'm sure, but I'm not the expert to.
That's my question to the world. Somebody call me after you listen to this show. Somebody call me with the information. I'm not giving you my phone number, but you need to figure out a way to call me with the information.
Slide in the DMs.
Slide up in them DMs.
So,
is there another medical procedure that is performed on a minor without the consent of their parent? That's what I want to know.
So, look, to wrap this up, I mean, the point is, that's why these need to stay as personal choices, right? If you don't believe in abortion, that's fine. Do everything you can in your family and with your kids or your cousins and nieces and whatever to hopefully, dissuade them from having an abortion if the time comes, or whatever it may be, right? But it's not up to you to be making all these other wild intrusions into people's personal life, right? Because this is the mess that you create when you try and do this. You know what? We just got to move on, because this is making my head spin.
It's literally making my head spin too. It's so many laws and regulations around abortion, like, as it should be. It's a big deal, but let's go ahead and just take a break.
All right, that sounds good. Yeah, good timing. So we'll be right back.
While we're on this break, we want to remind you, do not forget to share the podcast. Share it to all of your social media platforms, your Facebook, your Instagram, Twitter. Don't forget to use the hashtag #What'sTheDealPod whenever you share anything. And like and subscribe the podcast on iTunes, Google Play, wherever you listen. Thanks for spreading the love. You know we appreciate you. All right, y'all, welcome back to the show. You already know it's your girl, Jay Callie.
Steve Discourse.
Sticking with the topic of health care, let's see, what is Donald Trump talking about with this health care reform?
So Trump has, some people say emboldened, other people say flip the script, other people say thrown a monkey wrench. There's a lot of metaphors and things you can use, but he's taking aim, again, at the Affordable Care Act, a.k.a. Obamacare. And, a lot of people are saying that the GOP, that the Republicans are mad because they don't want to touch this issue because they failed time and time again over the past decade, basically, to repeal this thing and eliminate it. So he kind of came out of left field, which is his style. Donald Trump, he just kind of pivots out of the blue, and which in my opinion is one reason you got to really be skeptical of anything this guy does, because he just kind of, like a child, is like, this is my favorite toy, and then I'm going to play with this forever, and then like 45 seconds later, they're like, that is some bullshit toy. Yep. This is the shit. So you just got to wonder what's going on. Anyway, he's taking aim. He's now trying to file a lawsuit to call into question the entire existence of Obamacare, and hopefully undermine it there and repeal it. And, in his words, he says, we're going to replace it with something much, much better, right? Which is his style, of course. But here's the concern. There's literally no developed, concise set plan to propose to replace it with, right?
Yeah.
And again, you got to think, as soon as Affordable Care Act was passed, this became like priority number one for Republicans to undermine it and destroy it. They've had time to critique and hone and reshape and reform a new proposal, and they don't. So there's nothing on the table right now that is realistic, comprehensive replacement for Obamacare. And if you remember last year, controversially, a few Republicans, most notably John McCain, voted against that proposal.
I do remember that. They made such a big deal about it.
And they said McCain was like the deciding vote, right? And to which Trump was just over in Arizona recently, still talking shit about John McCain, who is dead.
Are you serious?
Yes.
You can't.
John McCain is dead, and he's still out there talking shit.
There's a universal rule against that. He's just wild.
Yeah. So even when the Republicans had control of the House of Representatives and the Senate, they couldn't pass a reform to the ACA when they had a full Congress, which means, right, Senate passes something, it's got to go over to the House, and the House passes it, or vice versa. Mm-hmm. They had both parties. They had both houses, and they couldn't get it together. So now, out of the blue, Trump is back on it, surprising people and really throwing a monkey wrench into the Republican agenda, and on top of the fact that you have the Republicans only control the Senate. How are you going to put together a proposal that will pass the Senate and then go to the House of Representatives where the Democrats control it, and that they will like that proposal and they'll pass it? It just seems like an impossible task. So honestly, all I wanted to say is whatever the rhetoric you're hearing out there is a lot of nonsense. And
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are they actively doing anything to create a new system of health care? Because it seems like for years we've been hearing about getting rid of Obamacare. I remember a few years ago they tried to do something called Trump Care. That's what people were calling it, and it didn't shake. What is his plan? Just fuck Obamacare, let's move on and nobody have anything? Like, what are we talking about here?
Well, I mean, Trump, plan and Trump don't go together. Trump is flying at the seat of his pants a lot, right? So that's what that was kind of what I was getting at, that there doesn't seem to be any comprehensive plan. Trump doesn't have a detailed plan laid out. Like there's been nothing in the works that they've been building ready to now pivot to this today or this week when he did it.
Right.
It was just something that he does sporadically, emotionally off the cuff that he just said, oh, I have time to do it now. And people are speculating that he feels bold because the Mueller report came out and he thinks he's vindicated and he's exonerated. And so now maybe he was just like, all right, bet. Yo, now that I'm all full of juice now, what can we do? Oh, Obamacare, I'm coming for you now.
Right.
But like there's no, like he has no leverage. He's got no plan in place to offer. And they've got no political power because the Democrats control half of Congress. So nobody really knows what he's doing and why he's coming back to it. Mm-hmm. But he's saying that Republicans are going to be known as the party of healthcare, which doesn't make any sense because
he's a child.
They've been running on opposing this healthcare system. So, and I mean, we're talking about tens of millions of people have insurance that didn't before the Affordable Care Act. And so if you want to, here's the second thing. If you want to repeal it, there's got to be something immediately in place to swap it.
Right.
But Trump says we're going to figure something out that'll be even better. No, man, you've had a decade to have it ready.
First of all, even better is nothing that I'm willing to rely on. Yeah, we have something. What is it? Something better.
Sign me up.
It's better than that. Ooh, I like this guy. Like, no.
Sounds good.
You actually have to say words and explain what you're talking about. You can't just say good stuff, great stuff, the best stuff on earth.
Huge benefits. Huge.
Right. Like, you need to tell me more. Is there more? No, there's no more yet. I just know it's better.
There are no details. And in researching this to make sure what details are out there, if you Google Trump and healthcare and things like that, there are websites that really threw me off at first. It was like TrumpHealthcare.com and stuff like that. There are other people, I think, who bought those domains, and it takes you to different services. So don't be fooled by that. And it's not under the guise of being something from the president. It just takes you to clear other websites
totally
and
different.
stuff.
Like essentially, there's nothing. Is that what you're saying?
If you Google it, yeah, it'll look like there's details and plans, but there's really nothing going on. So don't believe the hype.
Okay, investigative journalism.
I just had to get it off my chest because this guy is wild. And I mean, we could go on and on about what we have to get off our chest about Trump. And that's going to be, a lot of our right-wing listeners are going to love those kind of statements from me. We're being balanced, okay? We're being balanced.
2 weeks in a row.
I talked about all of his healthcare details.
Yep. Just
now. I covered all his details. All right, so I covered the opposition and all his details. That was a clear, 100% fair and balanced right there. So, look, enough of me ranting about this lack of healthcare reform going on there. Let's wrap up with the other headline attention-grabbing story this week. The continuing, ongoing, although seemingly closed case.
Not closed.
Of Jussie Smollet.
It's
Jay
not
Kelly,
closed.
what do you got?
Y'all. He called it a case. I call it buffoonery.
Okay.
I call it a debacle. Is that a good word? Was debacle?
It's probably, yeah.
Those are the words I'm using to describe what's happening with Jussie Smollett. And quite frankly, I'm over it. Jussie Smollett, we have been talking about this man since January. It's going to be April in 2 days. And we are still talking about Jussie Smollett. And you know what's the worst part? Nothing is any more clear than it was in January. Everyone's just running around in circles, spewing trash talk, making up lies, rumors, covering up lies, rumors, calling other people out on their lies, rumors. And now our great president has involved himself because he just loves scandals and sensationalized pop culture trash instead of running our country. Anyway, just to refresh, Jussie Smollett, as you know, we've been talking about, we already know. He was basically saying that he had been attacked on the streets and blah, 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 blah. We all know the details. People came out and said, oh, he made it all up. He got brought up on 16 felony charges, which was absurd, which was already absurd to say the least. And then
you don't know
this is my opinion, that the fact that Jussie Smollett was just like, he's a liar, he was never attacked, blah, blah, blah. And I'll admit, I was one of those people who were like, oh my God, it's all a lie. But once the story got mixed up, I realized that everybody was lying and that I get to choose who I want to believe.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to do. Anyway, All 16 of those charges got dropped this week. Every single charge dropped after they dragged this man's name through the mud. He almost got kicked off of Empire. Everybody's been calling him a liar and all this hate speech and whoa. 16 felony charges for making up a lie that you got beat up. First of all, Steve, it's just not that deep. It's not that deep. If I said somebody beat me up, it wouldn't be a big deal. You know why I think it was turned into a big deal? First, because this sensationalized social media era just puts everything into the spotlight. But because he said, supposedly he said, I'm going to get into this, they were wearing MAGA hats and spewing hate speech and homophobic slurs and put a noose around his neck and unknown chemicals. And the term MAGA hats just, pew, Donald Trump jumped right on it and started talking about it. And little Donald started talking about it and tweeting Jussie Smollet. And everybody made it their personal agenda to discredit him and to stomp his name in the mud. And that's exactly what happened from January until basically now. He's been accused of being this huge liar whose agenda was to like ruin the good MAGA name and to make everybody look racist and horrible and just this whole agenda. I don't know what would be the purpose of him doing it, but now
he's probably a liar. I don't know what his lie was.
His lie was the same as everybody else's lie. I'm starting to think that Jussie Smollett never filed a police report. Is this a dream? That's how many lies have been told at this point.
Yeah,
Who is telling the truth? I can't keep up.
The back and forth has been pretty nuts. And when you were talking about getting to choose to pick a side, there's like 3 or 4 sides you can probably bet on here.
All you can do is choose.
Because there's a lot of fishy stuff. First of all, he got indicted by the grand jury, and that's how those charges came about. Which now the rule of thumb is that they kind of say is you can indict a ham sandwich if you wanted to, which is to say that the prosecutor in charge of the case has so much control over what comes out or doesn't come out in a grand jury hearing that a ham sandwich clearly can't commit a crime. It's a ham sandwich. But that's how much control they have that you can indict a ham sandwich. So we don't know what was brought up and said because those are, confidential hearings and everything. We don't know what happened in the grand jury hearings, but the indictment came out from them. So that's kind of damning. They brought the charges. That's kind of damning. Yes, they're dropped, but we all know convictions don't happen and charges get dropped and things like that. But that doesn't necessarily mean a person is innocent. We don't know what has happened, right? Because you've got this other situation where he put up $10,000 for bail.
Okay.
And since the charges were dropped, he's eligible to get that back. He forfeited that to the police department. So that was also a fishy detail of why, if you're innocent, right? And why are all these details kept confidential? All of it is so under wraps. And a lot of people are saying, look, if you were innocent and all this information exonerated you as Jussie Smollett, you want that to come out. And in fact, you might want to go to court so you can prove your innocence because this is such a mess of a scandal.
That's not an admittance of guilt. Just the same as charges being dropped doesn't make him innocent. Him being like, nah, go ahead, keep that. That doesn't mean he's guilty either. And that's my point. Everything is just these little...
Come on. Why would you give them $10,000 after they dragged you like that?
Do you know how much stuff in this story makes 0 sense?
Right. Yeah. That's why I'm saying it's super fishy.
Let me just back up to the point that I'm always going to be stuck on the president of the United States is highly invested. He's actually trying to get the Department of Justice to pick this investigation back up. This is an embarrassment to our nation to let him slide. It's actually really not. It's really, really not an embarrassment to our nation to let him slide. He's just some celebrity who maybe or maybe didn't lie. Whatever. Why do we need our Department of Justice wasting our good federal dollars on this crap? But all the way back to how did it go from MAGA hat wearing white racist people with a noose to the biggest Nigerian niggas I've ever seen in my life?
Well,
that already was a switch, was a flip. And then on top of that, they're like, oh, he paid us to do it. Where's the evidence? There was no proof. And then it was like, he's innocent. So what about the 2 key witnesses who are saying something totally different? How are charges being dropped? I'm so confused. How were the charges ever brought up? Is he say, she say? Whoa. And then he's lying and she's lying too. All right. You know what?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm about to throw in the towel. I'm tired of you.
And that's what's wild is there's no lead on actual perpetrators of an actual hate crime and assault against Smollett. We thought we wrapped it up that, okay, these Nigerian brothers did get paid to do the assault. And if they did, then that, you would think, incriminates Jussie Smollett.
You would think.
Now the charges are dropped.
Right.
So if we're going to assume the charges got dropped because they was all trumped up to smear his name, back to square one, where are the assailants, right? There's this is the messiest thing I've ever heard. And it's something suspicious because you don't get all those, they're not going to bring all those charges up against you and then just drop them out of clear blue after all that work.
After all that,
So
16 charges.
His lawyer was working. And I don't know the deal that they arranged, but...
Well, I do.
Oh, you do?
Mm-hmm.
This is breaking news exclusive to What's the Deal. No one knows.
It's not
except
breaking.
for Jay
It's
Cali.
on the internet. He basically has to do some community service. Literally. No. Yes, he does.
That's not the details I was talking about. How doing community service doesn't get all this swept under the rug. It doesn't.
Oh, you mean the behind the scenes? Do
yes,
you know what?
I don't know
Somebody
what the
said
deal
he
is.
pulled a fire festival. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then you don't know.
It's insane. The level of back and forth. It's literally like a tornado of information or a hurricane. I don't know which is a better analogy here, but it's like things flying left and right, both ways. You duck one way, something hits you the other way. Yeah.
You made me
something
feel dumb.
Fishy is going on here.
You're like, no, I'm not talking about that. Oh, I don't have the behind the scenes juice. Sorry, I don't know Jussie Smollett personally.
We could have moved on. We didn't have to bring that back up.
I just
and
had to
relive
say
it.
because my feelings were involved.
Live on air.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that wasn't the intention. It's a miscommunication. Is what happened. So what do we take from this? I don't get it. What did he orchestrate it? Do you think? What's it?
Okay. So what I think is he definitely did something. There is some scheming happening. Did he orchestrate this entire fiasco? Possibly. It's possible. I don't want to say yes, but it's possible because the story is just so shaky. Did he expect it to become a 3-month-long national news headline? Absolutely not. Did he backtrack when he realized how much of a big deal it was? Absolutely.
Probably.
Did everybody else get highly involved in proving that he's a liar? Because at this point, the story is too sensational to let you just sweep it under the rug? Yes. Did people also add in their own sprinkle of lies? Sure they did. Now is the story such a mess that I just want to throw my shoe at the next fucking person that looks like Jussie Smollett who walks past me on the street?
Wow.
Absolutely. What's going on? Y'all need to wrap it. Annalise Keating, wherever you are, good job. We need to clap it up for her because she's the true mastermind behind it all. We already know. And from How to Get Away with Murder, she has pulled off quite a few stunts. She's gotten people off the hook for lots of crimes that they, in fact, did commit. But you know what? She did such a good job that I'm starting to believe that Jussie Smollett is innocent. I can't wait for the next season of Empire. I won't be tuning in, but I can't wait to ignore it.
So that's the last question. Yeah, is how does this impact his legacy?
Well,
forward?
Empire tweeted, "We back on Wednesdays." So
okay,
they back.
with
I
Jussie.
guess he back.
So
it will never be the same.
And we're gonna see. I don't know if the Justice Department can dredge something up. It is a shame that now this has gotten to a level where Trump thinks at the federal level. I mean, he couldn't be bothered with Charlottesville protests and James Fields, who murdered a woman with his car, who just pled guilty to 29 counts of hate crimes, federal hate crimes, by the way, this week. We didn't talk about that.
Wow.
But he already got convicted for the murder, but now these are federal hate crimes.
Yeah.
So he avoids the death penalty. But so the Trump administration couldn't be bothered with things like that because there are very nice people on both sides, or very problematic people, whatever he said.
He said very good people.
Very good people on both sides. He couldn't be bothered with that. But this actor, now hold on, national
Ring
security.
the
We
alarm!
gotta get on it. So, but listen, you mess with his people, his MAGA people, and he comes for you. And we know that that's going to be his move every time. You come for
Every
us, I'm
time.
coming for you. So
Every time.
Hopefully, we won't ever have to revisit this freaking nightmare of a story.
I have a strong inkling that we're going to be talking about this next week.
Please don't.
When the Department of Justice inevitably comes up with new breaking information proving his guilt.
And if it does happen, we're going to be here to tell you what the deal is.
I'm going home to pray for Jussie.
I'm going to go have a drink after this Jussie conversation. Pray for me.
Steve. How are we going to wrap this up?
I think you just did.
I did?
You want to get out of here? Take it away.
Dang, I don't know what you normally say.
Neither do I. I say, listen, thanks everybody for listening. It's been a circus. It's been a whirlwind. And we're going to hit you with another one next week. So as always, I'm Steve Discourse.
And I'm Jay Callie.
That's the deal.
All right, people, thanks so much for tuning in another week. What's the Deal podcast?
You can follow us on social media
at Steve Discourse.
And you can catch Jay Callie.
It's Jay Callie, ITSJAYCALLI.
We got to send a big shout out to Clifford Cartel for composing our theme music. And wherever you listen to this, make sure you subscribe.
Family, subscribe.
Write us a review.
Share the podcast. Subscribe to it wherever you listen.
Share it with your friends, family, your loved ones. Heck, share it with your enemies. We don't care. Just help us spread that word. We truly appreciate it.